Hi guys, Viking Princess here. Welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about some settings to help with your PUBG game experience. PUBG is a fantastic game but also very complicated, which means that just downloading it and starting to play isn't always the best solution. Let's look at some of these settings that can really significantly affect the quality of your gameplay. I will be talking about NVIDIA graphic cards and graphic drivers settings for this video, but some of these settings might apply if you are using a different graphics card as well. If you are a PUBG player and you haven't checked out any of these settings before, make sure to like this video and hit that subscribe button with the little bell so that you get notified every Sunday when I release my new videos. So without further ado, let's dive right into it.
The first thing we are going to do is to go into the NVIDIA control panel. Easiest way to do that is to right click on your desktop and select NVIDIA control panel. From here, I am going into manage 3D settings and switching from global settings to specific program settings. And from here, I want to make sure that I have PUBG in my list. This isn't always there on its own. You might have to add it manually by using an add button and then search your computer for TSI or recently used. You could also search A to Z, but find it here to add it to your list. Now, the specific layout of the different feature might differ slightly depending on which graphics card you have, but the main function and the things that you want to be changing will remain the same. Some of these functions, especially the ones related to anti-aliasing, doesn't relate to PUBG or does not apply to PUBG because of the game engine that it's ran on. So we are starting on the top. We're just using a global setting for image sharpening, which is off, and anisotropic filtering. We are also using a global setting as off, or global setting application controlled, sorry. Anti-aliasing you can adjust in your PUBG graphic settings once you open the game. So we are leaving everything off or application controlled. The first one we want to double check is the CUDA GPUs. So CUDA is an application developed by NVIDIA that allows the GPU to participate in complex computations. So turning this to all will secure the best performance. The next one you want to change is the low latency mode. This feature lowers the latency by limiting the number of frames the CPU can prepare before the frames are processed by the GPU. So turning the feature off allows the game to queue the frames. Now, this one might depend on your setup. I am leaving mine off because I have a very strong graphics card, but depending on your GPU performance and if it's maxing out, you should turn this to ultra instead of off. So while you are playing the game, leave your control panel open and keep an eye on your GPU performance. If you're noticing you're maxing out, go into this setting and switch from off to ultra. Max frame rate, we are leaving at off. The reason for this is that I have a G-Sync compatible monitor. So this ties into the next option here, monitor technology. If you have a G-Sync compatible monitor, you have to keep it at G-Sync. If not, just do it. If not, you would want to put this at fixed refresh rate. Once you do that, go into your max frame rate and change your FPS to match that of your monitor. So if you have a 60 Hertz monitor, turn this on and use your slider. What if you can just type it in? It's easier. And you have a 60 Hertz there. This will just take the stress off the GPU so that it doesn't work more than it needs to. If your monitor can only show you 60 frames per second, there's no need for your GPU to start pushing for a higher frame rate than that. So we're just maximizing everything here. Multi-frame sampled anti-aliasing, we're using the global setting of off. This is an option that only applies to newer graphics card and requires in-game support. And for max performance, you just leave it off. OpenGL rendering GPU, we're using the global setting, auto select. It doesn't really matter what you have this on, as OpenGL is not compatible with PUBG, so this doesn't affect us at all. Power management mode is a huge one, and you definitely want to put this to prefer maximum performance. If you have it set to anything else like adaptive or optimal power, your computer will adjust performance and system settings to save power. So screen might dim, processors will slow down, and so on. Make sure that it's at max performance so that you have a stable gaming experience. Preferred refresh rate, just highest available. Yeah, because that's just the only thing that makes sense. Make sure that this is set at highest available instead of application controlled. Okay. Shader cache is another interesting one. You want to make sure that your game is installed on your SSD. If it's not, right now, just uninstall, reinstall. Make sure that you have it on an SSD. And then keep shader cache on. It will help decrease the input lag and smooth out your frame rate. The next section is related to your texture and image quality. Anisotropic sample optimization. I'm just leaving this on. Texture filtering negative LOD bias is on global settings for allow. This allows PUBG to specify a negative level of detail bias when anti-aliasing is used, so leading to more detailed image. Texture filtering quality is for high performance, means that we are prioritizing high performance of the game rather than image quality. Texture filtering trilinear optimization is also on, improving texture filtering performance. Threaded optimization, this is a big one. This enables NVIDIA drivers to use multiple threads for its CPU intensive work. This is one that you need to keep an eye on again. Open up your control panel and keep an eye on your CPU performance while you are playing the game. PUBG is very, very CPU intensive. So there are lots of posts out there on Reddit and different forums that say having this on may lead to FPS drops and in-game stutters. Although having it on seems to be a good thing for a lot of intensive games and GPU intensive games, because PUBG is not very well optimized with the CPU usage. This might be a big one for you to turn off if you are seeing that CPU spikes. So keep an eye on it, check it. If your CPU is getting up there, try turning this off and see if that stabilizes your game. All right, triple buffering is set to off because you don't need this. This is just for a G-Sync monitors, so just keep it off. And vertical or V-Sync, also don't really need this. You should actually just put that on off. And virtual reality pre-rendered frames. PUBG is not a VR game. At least not now. Could you imagine? That'd be terrible. I'd be so scared. So we're just using global settings on this one. Okay, so this is what I am leaving for my main setup here. Obviously, you want to make sure that your resolution and your refresh rate and that G-Sync is enabled. Another setting that you should be looking into that used to be recommended that you don't use whatsoever is a Windows game mode. So if you just type in your start panel, game mode settings to keep this on. So what game mode does, if we press learn more about it, the game mode is a built-in feature for Windows 10 and it was created to boost performance of games while increasing the frames per second and allowing your computer to allocate more resources to the game. So it's designed to squeeze the performance of a lower tier computers. So if you have a lower tier computer, definitely check this out and turn it on. There was some problems with it reported when it was first launched, but after the later patches now in 2020, that seems to have been fixed. So if you have a really, really, really strong build and experiencing high frame rates and stable game, you might not notice a big difference if you turn this on. But if you have a lower PC, definitely give it a try and turn it on. And even with my build, which I would consider a higher tier build, I did find an improvement in in-game performance turning this on. My frames boosted up by about 10-15 frames in the game. But I also run a lot of other programs on my computer, like OBS and Discord and tons of things in the background because I generally stream while gaming. If you are a streamer as well, a good way to do this is to use your game mode on, and then make sure that you launch OBS Studios or your streaming software in admin mode so that it also gets priority allocation.
So as you can see, there's a lot of different settings that you can play around with to make sure that you get the best gaming experience possible. I know a lot of people were asking me about these settings. I've mentioned them on my stream several times. So I wanted just to take a few minutes and put this video together for you guys to just describe it in more detail. On top of these settings, you always want to make sure that you have the latest version of the software installed on your computer. On the topic of updates, I hope that you have already turned off auto update on any Windows updates. As soon as any of these updates kick in and auto installs and downloads are happening, that will affect your game performance negatively. So make sure you turn that off. But that also means that you have to be good at checking for those updates regularly. I personally check every single morning before I turn on my stream and my game to make sure that all my drivers are up to date and that there's nothing that's come out or been released over the night. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Share it with your friends who also play the game. Make sure that they have as good an experience as you now will. And of course, if anything worked for you, didn't work, or something really stood out for you in this video, please let me know in the comments below. I really love hearing back from all of you. And I will see you again next week.